simple strategies to deal with this. So, while people are joining, I'm going to give you a rundown of what to expect from today's trainings. So, expect to be on for about 60 minutes, up to 60 minutes. There is an opportunity to ask questions at the end. I'm going to be answering all your questions to the end. There is a Q&A box. The chat is turned off. I don't want you chatting. I want you focusing, concentrating on this valuable information. So there is a Q&A box. Put your questions as they come up into that Q&A box. Now, your privacy is very important to me. That Q&A box is private. Only I will see those questions, and you can even ask those questions anonymously, so even I won't know who's asking them. So please feel safe, feel free to ask anything. No question is unwelcome here. I really want you to get answers from this training. I want you to be able to leave this training knowing what to do about the problems you're coming with. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and how I came to be doing what I'm doing. So, my name is Naomi Stonier and I am a certified relationship coach. I trained at the Tony Robbins Coach Training School, but most importantly, at least to me anyway, most importantly, this is a path that I have walked myself. I spent years battling in all my relationships until I learned the skill. This is a skill you can learn, the skill of turning conflict into an opportunity for connection. This is not about luck. This is not about personality type. This isn't about how clever we are or how successful we are. These are just skills that nobody teaches us. So I've now helped hundreds of people. I've walked hundreds of people through these processes to learning these skills and into happier and healthier relationships with all the key people in their lives. Life is a very different place for me now. I believe so deeply in these skills that, like I said, I do it for a job. I've walked hundreds of people through this process. So I know what's possible, and I'm now going to share those steps with you. So, why are we so terrible at fighting? Well, the simple answer is that no one teaches us how to do it. We're taught that conflict is bad, that conflict is negative. First of all, we're taught we don't understand why relationships are so difficult because we're not taught why they're challenging. Then we're taught that conflict is bad, that anger is bad, it's shameful, it's dangerous. So of course we assume the worst, and that's a big barrier to effective communication. But if you're prepared for a bit of short-term discomfort, on the other side of conflict, there is an opportunity to connect and to grow and evolve together. And it really is crucial for relationships to thrive long-term. So what is unproductive fighting? What does it look like? Well, humans are wired with a strong dramatic instinct. Under pressure, we get into binary thinking, we get very black and white. And when we're emotionally overwhelmed, it reduces our ability to process information, and we don't realize this is happening. So in the moment, your personal relationships are the most intense place. In the moment, we become inflexible. We become very black and white. We need to prove our point. We fight to win. We forget about the problem we're trying to solve. And in that moment, you become very tunnel vision, and it's about proving your point and fighting to win. And then what we do is we monitor and measure. We keep a scorecard of our wins and our losses, and we keep a log of all the wrongdoings perpetrated against each other. And when the tough times hit, we bring out that scorecard, we bring out that log and throw it at each other. So from this place, we don't solve the problems. It just blows over until next time. Or you may be thinking it's pointless to try and solve it. You may be thinking they'll never change and you may be feeling helpless and powerless to do anything about this. And the result of this is that the problems build and build. So we keep busy. We spend more time at work. We go to our kids for easy love. Young kids are an easy source of unconditional love. But kids grow up and then we turn around and we look at each other and we say, oh dear, that we don't have a relationship here. So if you're doing this, don't worry, it's normal, it's common, and it is simple to solve. And I'm going to go into these strategies that are going to help you with this right now. But first of all, what I want to do is create a little bit of leverage for you. Okay, so this work is simple, but it's not always easy. So we need to create a bit of motivation here. Changing this dynamic, changing these dynamics in our relationships, these habits and patterns of communicating that we've grown up with and then we've brought into our personal relationship. It's not a question of capability. Learning these skills is not a question of capability. This is really important that you understand this. It is a question of motivation. And so motivation is created through leverage when our should becomes a must. So I'm going to create a bit of leverage for you right now. And I'm going to help you sit and think for a moment about the consequences of unhealthy conflict in our relationships. And the consequences are growing emotional distance, and you grow, that distance grows big enough, you can't bridge it, you can't get it back. Okay, erosion of trust, loss of respect, resentment and bitterness. Living in resentment and bitterness, living in regret is incredibly tiring and time consuming. And so we're talking about increased stress and anxiety levels. This is unhealthy. This is bad for your health. And we know where this is heading. If this doesn't get resolved, at the very minimum, you're going to live your life in an unhappy relationship here, in this key relationship in your life. But you may also head down the road of relationship breakdown. You may head down the road of cutting this person out of your life, losing contact with people in your life. It happens all the time. And I just want you to take in the most important thing here, the impact on the kids. These bad habits pass down the generations forever. It's no one person's fault. No one teaches us this stuff, but it only takes one person to break the cycle. Okay. So you thinking having tough conversations is very scary. Learning to break the cycle of arguing feels really hard. It feels like a real effort, but creates a leverage for you when you think about what are patterns, what are the kids being exposed to, because they're absorbing this stuff in like a sponge. Okay, so my passion is leaving a new and better legacy for the next generation. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Don't just think about the negative consequences. Think about the positive consequences of learning to have healthy conflict, having the courage, finding the courage to have conversations that you're scared of having. Having finding the energy to stop the cycle of arguing. I want you to think about the skill. This is a skill that you will learn and have for the rest of your life. The skill of having challenging, difficult conversations productively is life-changing. A fulfilling and successful life is on the other side of these conversations, is on the other side of learning these skills. And I see it every single day in my coaching calls. So we're approaching the holiday season. I offer to you being on this call with me right now, taking these skills and using them. The holiday season is an opportunity for you to practice. Okay. So if that felt a bit heavy and a bit overwhelming and a bit scary, I want to reassure you, I want to offer you this. The key, when understanding the true problem, is the key to unlocking this. It is the first step, because when your brain gets why what you're doing isn't working, it automatically stops doing it. Once the brain gets it and once the brain sees, oh, that's why it doesn't work, the brain automatically stops doing this. So whatever's playing out in your relation, in your communication, in your relationships that isn't resolving problems, I'm going to tell you today why what you're doing isn't working. And it's transformational. Knowledge of the true problem is transformational. So I'm going to talk about the 3 barriers to healthy conflict. And then I'm going to share some really simple ways. It's easier than you think. It's more simple than you think to overcome these barriers. Now, each of these, so all the solutions I give you are about zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, because you've got a crazy human brain in your head. It's not designed to live in the modern world. It's designed to survive in the wild. It wants to zoom in and focus on the moment in front of you and just survive. So this is all about zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. This is how we get back into our rational minds. This is how we create perspective in the moment. Okay? So here we go. Barrier number 1 is your emotions. So the first place we must start is understanding, no one teaches us this, how emotions play a part in our relationships, and how that human brain in your head that is programmed, it's wired to survive, plays out in your communication. So these are the golden rules to understand about emotions and about the human brain. And they are this. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. And rational thinking goes out the window and our survival brain kicks in. So when you feel flooded with emotion, your ability to process information has dropped. Your ability to communicate has dropped. Okay, this is the golden rule. The second golden rule is understanding that the human brain does not know the difference between real or imaginary danger. So that moment where you're flooded, you've gone into freeze or you've gone into whoosh, you feel your temper's flared, to your brain, you're facing real danger. So it doesn't know the difference. And so this is why these moments spiral and just become what they do. They become out of proportion. The third thing that happens is your brain loves to predict. Your brain is outward focused. It's sweeping the outside world for danger, and its only job is to keep you safe. So it's predicting danger all the time, and it loves to act like a crystal ball. So you won't realize this is happening. These predictions that you're making feel like a fact. They feel real. And the brain is wired to go to worst case scenario. It's got to keep you safe. So that difficult conversation that needs to be had, your brain is going to say, oh, no, we don't want to do that. That's real danger. And it's going to predict this is how it's going to play out. This is a Pandora's box. Don't go there. Okay. So I'll give you some examples of this. I worked with a client last week who was talking about feeling trapped, feeling stuck in a relationship. And I explained to this client that the words that you use matter. They create your emotion. Remember, your brain doesn't know the difference between real or imaginary. So when you tell yourself that you are trapped, your brain is taking that literally. And you experience the intense emotion of, oh my God, I'm trapped in this. So together we took a look at this, and I asked this person, are you trapped? Are you physically trapped? And they were able to identify, no, I'm not trapped. Okay. And just identifying that in the moment made this person feel so much better. And when emotion drops and we get into our rational mind, we can start finding simple solutions. We can start communicating a lot more effectively. But when we're talking from this high stakes language, because we're just wired to go high stakes, go worst case scenario, and we don't realize it's happening to us. It feels like a fact, but it's simple work to catch it and go question it. So I'm gonna talk to you about that now. So The solution here, the solution to just this normal emotional experience that the human brain is wired to avoid these uncomfortable experiences is to normalize that it happens. It's very normal. Our personal relationship, our intimate relationship is the most intense place. So it's normalizing that it happens, remembering what emotions do to our communication, but not only that, but expecting it to happen, to plan for it to happen. We know it's going to happen. So how do we want to navigate that? So there are two ways that emotions create a barrier. First, we avoid conversations. Your brain thinks you're going to die if you have that conversation. So it's understanding that while this feels very intense, feels very physically and mentally intense, it's not actually real. It's not actually real, the intensity that you feel. And your brain is not a crystal ball. It cannot predict how this conversation will play out, okay? And then, so what I offer to you there is if you're willing to push through and have that conversation and find out how it will play out. I see every day on my coaching calls, people are utterly amazed that these conversations they were terrified to have play out in a radically different way to the way their brains told them it would play out. Secondly, second way emotions come up is so emotions come up by freezing, not talking, getting out of there, avoiding it. Second way emotions come is we blow, we lose our temper. And the reason you're doing that is because underneath anger, there is always a uncomfortable emotion. And our brains are going to anger to create certainty. So you can catch what the deeper emotion really is. If you spend a little moment, you can catch. And I have a step-by-step process for helping people get into emotional awareness. This is emotional adulting, but because every time you blow and it descends into a shouting match, nothing gets solved. So we're in recurring arguments that don't get solved. So understanding that anger is how we create certainty in a scary moment. There's always fear underneath anger. So I've got a step-by-step process I walk my clients through. Awareness. This is emotional adulting. Being aware of how you feel. This stuff is like a reflex. We run these patterns. We do it for decades and they happen very quickly, but you can do the work to get aware so that you can question. This is creating emotional pauses and then you get to choose. This isn't happening to you. So for me, what my awareness, there's usually warning signs that come up. And for me, the warning signs were blame. When my thoughts had tipped into blame, oh, you always do this, you never do that. Oh, here we go again. When my thoughts had tipped into blame, that was the stop before tornado town. I used to say blame town was the stop before tornado town. So I knew I'm on the way to being emotionally hijacked when I start having these kind of negative thoughts. And I used to create emotional pause. I learned the skill of creating emotional pauses. So it's learning to be planning ahead of time, anticipating this, being aware. And if things do go south, it's learning to repair afterwards, not just with others, but with yourself. We have so much shame and thoughts and feelings about our feelings. So I'm going to give you some useful sentences here that create pauses. I love you too much to go there. Yeah, when you can feel it's getting heated. I love you too much to go there. Or can I take a break? I don't want to say something I don't mean. Okay, it really is this simple or very simple. Hey, that came out wrong. I'm so sorry. Can I go again? These are very simple sentences that have massive impact. Now, there's something you must never say. Don't ever say you're overwhelmed. You need to take a break. Never assume or tell someone what they're feeling. This is a golden rule. You need to, you need to say, you need to describe your own experience only. Keep to your own experience. And then agree to come back to the conversation and make sure that you do, because if you use it as an excuse to get out of the conversation and not return, you are eroding trust in that relationship. And don't go away and plan a defense and come back and fully lay it out. Okay. The goal here is to connect. The goal is to connect and figure this out together. So, this is zooming out. This is understanding how emotions and the brain reacts under pressure. Okay, this is zooming out. This is creating perspective in the moment. The next barrier to healthy conflict is bad habits, generational habits. These bad habits pass down the generations forever. I'm not talking about abuse or trauma. This work is not appropriate for those subjects. I'm talking about the general bad habits of general miscommunication and misunderstanding. We are sitting in a swamp of our own emotions, our own belief systems, and communication doesn't get through. It never ceases to amaze me for myself and for my clients how two people can be having a conversation and there are two completely different experiences going on because it's got to filter through all these layers. We're all in this swamp, all this stuff's going on in our heads. So you are a sponge soaking in your environment from the first moment. You are creating this belief system. And I like to call this your operating manual. Now, the most amazing thing about it, most of this operating manual, you don't even realize you have. And even the stuff you promised you'd never do because we have much more awareness of other people, much harder to have awareness of yourself. So we see the others around us and think, oh, I'll never do that. But I promise you, it's going in like a sponge. Even the stuff we promised we'd never do shows up when we're under pressure and we don't realize it. So, these operating manuals are how we make sense of the world. It's how we feel safe and certain. So it is normal, it is human to try and impose our operating manuals on each other. It is normal, it is human to, when your operating manual is being challenged, for it to feel very scary, for it to feel very uncertain, and for us to shut down and get the hell out of there or to lash out. This is normal. So this is normalizing this. So differences in parenting, in finances, in the way we work, this feels very scary. And this becomes a big barrier. We make this stuff mean a lot of stuff, and it's a barrier to healthy conflict. So I'll give you an example of this. One parent lets the kids eat sugar and stay up late, and the other parent, that is not their operating manual. For them, that's harming the children. So this is big stuff. You see your partner do that and you think, my God, you're a bad parent. Oh my God, I'm with someone who's a terrible parent. It's going to really affect your communication. I had another client who wanted to set up wills and life insurance for the family, and their partner didn't think it was necessary. And this person, because this stuff is super sneaky, because can seem very reasonable, but you have to understand that your belief systems are completely arbitrary. They're made up, and every person's belief system is unique. No two belief systems are the same, so they're always going to clash. So there is no right or wrong. That's why we have the court systems, because we have this central system that has, no, you really can't do this. And we've had to have a court system to decide that, because there is no right or wrong. It is all a matter of opinion. And so for this person, that it was very uncomfortable for them to think you don't care about the family. Something could happen to you, and the family would be left in a really difficult situation, and you don't care. This is the meaning they were giving, and you understanding this. Okay, so the bigger picture here is zooming out. This helps you to depersonalize it and understand, okay, what were you brought up with? What were the money beliefs? How did people operate around you growing up? So what have you learned? And what do I think? And where's the middle ground? So when you're coming at someone and saying you don't care about your family, that's going to be a barrier to communication. But this allows you to zoom out and ask bigger pictures. Okay, well, what are your belief systems? How do people manage money around you? How are you parented? Uh, Belief systems around emotions is a big one. What were you taught about emotions? How were emotions displayed around you? So for one person, outbursts have they've been taught that's very inappropriate, that's bad, you mustn't do it. So they'll have huge shame about expressing emotions, where for another person it'll be completely normal. So being able to ask these bigger questions, these bigger picture questions, will depersonalize this, and it will help you find a middle ground. And just the central understanding with this is these rules and values that you have, while they feel very important, they are completely arbitrary. We just collect this stuff up. We just collect it up. And it feels like the truth, it feels like a fact. It isn't. It's just your opinion. And when you present your belief system as an opinion instead of a fact, this is the way things should be. Well, this is how I feel. This is what I think. It really opens up communication. So the next one is unresolved fights. So sometimes we hurt each other badly, and research shows that if it doesn't get resolved, it doesn't fade from memory. Not only that, but strong emotion starts to edit the memory and distort it, so that contributing factors or the bigger picture gets lost, and only that thing that was said or done remains in isolation and becomes magnified. This is research that the Gottman Institute has done. So we avoid this stuff. We want to just sweep it under the rug and move on. But this is about avoiding short-term discomfort versus long-term discomfort of this stuff building up. So signs you have unresolved issues. Talking about it leads to more fighting. You avoid mentioning it because it's too sensitive to mention, and you feel growing emotional distance as a result. Maybe there are big reactions coming out of nowhere. The golden rule with this is if the reaction is out of proportion to the moment in front of you, it's an unresolved issue, or it's coming from your past. We are bringing a lot of this stuff into our relationships from before meeting people. So understanding that a big barrier to resolving fights is our clashing operating manuals, our clashing belief systems, and our emotional patterns, our way of navigating emotions. These will prevent us from resolving fights. Now, there are two things required to resolve past fights. In order to resolve a fight, we have to accept that there are two versions of events. Remember that illusion of communication I talked about? Remember that swamp of emotions and beliefs we're all sitting in? There will always be two versions of events. And we have to let go of the facts. I have a really simple little formula for my clients with here, and that is this a fact we could prove in a court of law? And any describing word, you spoke to me in an angry way. It's not a fact. It's not a fact we can prove in a court of law. The only thing we can prove in the court of law is that a sentence was said. The meaning you gave to that sentence is yours, and the other person is going to have a completely different experience. So this ends the debate, the useless and time-consuming debate on how it went down. Okay, so we allow for the two realities. Secondly, we allow for the clash of belief systems here, because one of you thinks it's a really big deal and the other one can't understand the fuss. Okay, and it's allowing for that experience. So if you are the one thinking, what is the big deal here? It's navigating that and communicating. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I'm struggling to understand now, but I do care. And then in the same token, if you're on the receiving end of someone's bafflement and someone's dismissing, it's about depersonalizing that and understanding and communicating. I understand you don't get this, and that is okay. Not making it an issue about this person, not making it an issue about the relationship, but this is what I need to resolve it. I need to do this to resolve it. Right. So there's three barriers to productive conflict. Now, your fights, I'm going to give you some more simple strategies here. Your fights will get a lot more productive when you learn the skill of finding resolution and clarity in yourself first. There will be much less bottling up and much less exploding and temper. So it is all about the questions that we ask. The wrong questions keep you stuck. And the wrong questions are, why are you so horrible to me? Why are they always doing this? Why is this so difficult? Why is it so unfair? These kind of questions are very powerless. They're going to keep you stuck. But the right questions will set you free. And so getting clear, first of all, in yourself on what you are finding difficult, being willing to sit with exactly what is it that is so difficult for me here? And then what in that can I control? Because it's so normal for us to focus on the other person. We can't control other people. And that's just a horrible place to be. It's a helpless, powerless place to be. So when we focus on what we can control and think, okay, what can I do about it? Your problems in this relationship will halve overnight, and then you will be much more able to deal with what's left. So then zooming out, asking bigger picture questions. What do I think about conflict? What do I think, about emotions? What does the other person, what were they taught? With wider family, especially parent relationships, I support my clients to consider, when you're really struggling with a parent, how was that parent parented? What were they dealing with? And that gives you clues into why they are reacting why they're behaving the way they are now, what they are capable of. Sometimes we have to accept that people are not capable of what we're hoping or wishing they would give us, how they would behave. And it's about asking those bigger picture questions and zooming out and go, okay, what happened to them? Why do they behave like this? And like I said, it's knowledge of the true problem is transformational. So if you are willing to sit with these questions, even if the default response of the brain is, I don't know, I can't, it's just impossible to answer these questions. But I challenge you, if you're willing to sit with these questions, you will be amazed at what comes up. You'll be amazed. Now, 5 things you should never say. 5 things you should never say. These kind of reactions and responses are invalidating. They're sweeping statements. They are not accurate. They are fighting to win. They're the rabbit hole of debating right and wrong. So tiring, so time consuming, and utterly pointless. Who was right and who was wrong? They're dismissive and sarcasm. It's very toxic to our relationships. So the last one is the most important. Threats and ultimatums erode the foundations of our relationships. They erode trust, which is the foundation of our relationships. So if you have made any threat, any ultimations, I challenge you now to go to that relationship and repair and say, hey, I said this. People say a lot of silly things when they are emotionally hijacked. And being able to repair and to own it and say, hey, I shouldn't have said this and I didn't mean it. It is so important because threats and ultimatums, a relationship cannot thrive if threats and ultimatums are being made. And I want to offer you some thoughts around compromise because compromise can feel so awful when a relationship is sensitive and a relationship is struggling. Compromise feels like giving up ground. It feels like we have to submit and give up a part of ourselves. So I want to give you some really useful thoughts here on this. And that is that in order to be influential, you have to accept influence. And how you do this is ask yourself, where can you be flexible and where can't you be flexible? At the end of the day, we can always flex. There are always places we can flex, and the benefit to you is huge. And lastly, a last simple little strategy for you. In all relationships, it's not what we say that matters, it's how we say it. We often try to get through to people just by simply repeating ourselves. But true connection comes from communication that has life in it. Now, I have a little challenge for you, and I use this with all my clients. I challenge my clients 30 days, no complaining, no defending. This is about breaking the dynamic. This is about breaking the cycle, the habit, habitual communication, and do this instead. The 3 Ps, using the 3 Ps consistently will get through to anyone. This is communication with life in it. So, presence, put down your phone and give your loved one eye contact when they're trying to communicate with you or when you want to communicate with them. Passion, demonstrate that you care, demonstrate that this relationship matters for you. Passion is not just for the intense moments, but having passion in your communication. And playfulness. The antidote, we remember that catastrophic wiring we have, that negative bias wiring that we have. These moments feel so awful, they feel like life and death, and they aren't. And the antidote to the pressure of it all is humor. It's silliness. That game-changing moment when a comment gets made, that look, it takes so little when we've been running these patterns, we've been doing these dances for years in these relationships. It takes very little to set off the dance. But that game-changing moment when you choose, can you respond or, can you go whoomph down that path, or can you just laugh? Or, can you hop around on one leg, barking like a dog? I promise you, these being willing to just be silly, just laugh, it will change everything. These are just neural pathway patterns that we're running, and just the most crazy moment can just completely switch it and divert you from down that spiral to sidestepping and getting on with your day and keeping your time and energy. So there is a secret that nobody tells us. Everything that I have shown you today can influence and improve this relationship, can improve your communication. Because there's a secret that no one tells us. It only takes one person to change a relationship. No matter how thin you slice this, there are two sides. You are doing a dance of respond and react in this relationship. You are doing a dance of respond and react in your communication. And it only takes one person to change that. So, how does it work? Well, you take what I have given you today and you apply it. You start using it. You do 30 days of no complaining, no defending. You do 30 days of communicating using the 3 Ps. Because when one person shifts their thinking, when one person regulates their emotions, and when one person changes their behavior, the dynamic changes. Because this is a dance that two people are doing. If you change the dance, if you change the steps, you'll be doing a different dance. I see it every day in my coaching. So if this is the only thing you take from this training today, it is that you have the power to improve your experience in this relationship right now. Now, if you're thinking this right now, you probably are. This is the most common response to this work. It is normal, it is understandable. And the answer I have to you is this: you don't do everything, you just go first. The first step to improving any relationship begins with one person deciding to initiate change. That's it. Now, going first can feel like it's somehow invalidating your own experience. It can feel like it's encouraging bad behavior. But I want to put to you that holding on to the hurt that you feel in this relationship, staying stuck in this dynamic, is not good for you. You're not growing in this relationship. You're not moving forward on your own either. Now, the interesting thing about taking accountability first is that it creates a safe space for others to do the same. So we get to find out, can people step up? Are people willing to? And if they don't, well, that is very valuable information. Now, how I help my clients with this, because when there's been a lot of fighting or distance, it can feel really bad. But how I help my clients is for them to understand the benefit to them. So this work does not require the other person to say sorry. It require them to engage with this process or even know that you're doing it. This process, this approach is all for you. So it may sound really serious. People can often feel like, oh my God, this feels really heavy. This feels really like it's going to take a lot of work, but it doesn't. It's actually simple. And the most amazing thing about it is that you will start to feel better straight away. That is the most beautiful thing about it. Doing this work will change a lot for you. You'll feel stronger, you'll feel more confident. We make much better choices. We set boundaries much more easily. We communicate so much better when we approach our relationships this way. My clients are determined to end the cycle of bad habits, and they are determined to leave a better legacy of healthy relationship habits for the next generations. My clients are no longer stuck in a cycle of conflict, or of avoiding conflict, or stuck in the draining cycle of overreacting and lashing out. My clients are not living in resentment or regret anymore. And, good quality relationships are one of the keys to success, happiness, and fulfillment. Good quality personal relationships are the foundation upon which everything else is built. So I always say, I've got lots of entrepreneurs on this call. I always say to my entrepreneurs, you want successful business, work on your personal relationships. Whatever you're struggling with in your business, you learnt it in your personal relationships. Clear it up there, and business is so much more sustainable and successful. So There it is. That is the training. Now I'm going to answer all your questions. So if you haven't already, get your questions in the chat box. Only I will see them. Put as much detail as you can into your question. I'm going to stay on for as long as possible to get your questions answered. But before we start, I have a special offer for you. I am offering a consultation call. It's totally free. It takes about an hour and we will chat over the phone. I will call you wherever you are in the world at absolutely no charge to you. So there is an email in your inbox right now. So whether you are on this call with me live or you are watching a replay, you have received an email from me. Simply hit reply to that email. You will be talking directly with me, and we can get your session scheduled. So what we'll do on this call is we will take a look at where you are now in this relationship, where you want to be, whether it's with a partner or a family member, and then I'll walk you through how relationship coaching will bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. I'll take all these concepts and strategies that I've talked about on this training and I will apply them to your specific set of circumstances. If you feel nervous or unsure about getting on a call, if that feels daunting at all, do not worry. I will guide you through this conversation, and there is no pressure to continue. So, as I said, there is an email in your inbox right now. If you have registered for this training, there is an email in your inbox right now. Simply go to that email, hit reply to get that session booked in. Right, now let's get to the questions. Okay, so I'm going to stop this share. There we go. Here we are. Right, and I am going to go to the Q&A. Will there be a recording? Yes, there will be. There will be a replay. Okay, so I want to go to couples therapy because I think my partner needs to account for themselves. Okay. This is very normal. This is a very common feeling that we have. But I'm just going to be completely straight with you. If you go into couples therapy with this intention, it will not work because there's only one response you are going to get from your partner if you go in with this intention, and that is defense. You're not going to solve any of the problems. They're going to be too busy defending themselves. This is what we all do. We are stuck in a cycle of defend, attack. So, like I said, there are two people in this. We're doing there, it's a 50-50. There are two people in this relationship, and taking accountability for your part is key. Taking accountability for your part is key. It creates space for other people to do the same. So I really urge you to rethink that intention. Couples therapy, and this is the issue with couples therapy. One partner wants to go, the other one doesn't. They either refuse to go, or they feel attacked, so they don't engage. They don't engage with the couples therapy, and the couples therapy actually becomes part of the relationship problem because we use it as evidence of, did they want to work on it or not? But the real reason couples therapy isn't going to work is because you're going in with the intention of, you've got to account for yourself, and that it won't work. So have a think. Get on a call with me. I'm more than happy to help you work through that to set you up for success for couples therapy. Okay, glad. Okay, yeah. Glad it's people, the training is resonating for people. Okay, step kids. I've just moved in with my new partner and f right, I'm finding it very hard to live with my stepkids and we keep arguing about it. Okay. There is this is a really common problem that I see in coaching. This is one of the main things I deal with. And the first question I always ask is this: what is more important, your parenting values or this relationship? It's really, really key to ask yourself that question because if the relationship is the most important thing, then we can have a bigger picture problem here. We can have a conversation about the bigger picture, and that can get you out of the debate and the fighting and the arguing about the right way to parent. So to get out of you're doing it wrong, this is the right way to do it, that's the pointless debate. You've got to ask bigger picture problems and they look like, how were you parented? So I'm going to talk about how I was parented. You can talk about how you were parented, what was good about it, what was bad about it. Then you can ask, how were you disciplined? What does discipline mean to you? What are your goals for raising children? What are your fears? What are your fears? Yeah, in raising children. So that will feed into a lot of decisions that we make. And so asking these bigger picture questions to get out of the right way of doing it and the wrong way of doing it. So, what if my partner agrees with what I say, but then keeps doing it her way anyway, because it's not an important matter to her, and therefore she is stuck in her ways? So that I would offer to you to get really curious about why she's just agreeing with you. And so you've got to have a think about how you're communicating that's creating the result of her just agreeing with you. And what is the bigger picture here? So I would love you to get on a call and discuss that with me. So why does she keep it? Why does she just keep agreeing with you? So the meaning you're giving is that it's not an important matter to her. So why is it an important matter to you? And what I would suggest that you do is describe how you are feeling and describe the situation. So the problem that you want to talk to her about, don't say you're doing this, you're doing that. And she's a good, then I'm assuming agreeing, okay, I won't do that. Yes, I will do this, I will do that. She's saying that to get out of the conversation. So there's her communication style. So having a bigger picture. So one, describe yourself, how this is making you feel, and use non-judgmental emotions. So what is it that you're struggling with? And describe the situation. Don't say you. And then have some bigger picture, ask some bigger picture questions. What were you taught about communication? How did your parents communicate? Yeah, because she's obviously agreeing with you to get out of the conversation. All right. And you have to have a think about what you learned about communication. So, yes. Well, if I do not defend or explain to the other person what I disagree with, they will take it as a sign that it is okay to continue the behavior. What's the way out? Okay, well, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because currently you're telling someone that you're not happy with something they're doing. They're agreeing to stop it and then not stopping it. So that's the pattern that you're stuck in. No complaining and no defending. The purpose of that is to break that cycle. The purpose of no complaining, no defending is for you to reduce the pressure, reduce the sensitivity here, and get yourself into awareness. You're doing a dance here. You want something to happen. You want something not to happen. And the way you're trying to create your result right now isn't working. So try 30 days of no complaining, no defending, try 30 days of the three Ps. Get yourself into awareness, start collecting evidence of how you are stuck in this pattern, and then decide how to proceed. Those two strategies about breaking useless, helpless, awful dynamics that we get trapped in. We're just trapped in these habits. And there are two people dancing this dance that you don't want to dance. You're 50% of it. So you start asking yourself some questions about that. You mentioned sometimes people aren't capable of the changes you hope for. So, in my experience, that is the vast minority. That is the vast minority. Every now and then, I want to talk to you about mirroring. So, people around us mirror us. So, if you don't like the way someone is responding and reacting to you, get curious about how you are responding and reacting. And 30 days of no complaining, no defending, 30 days of the three Ps helps us get that answer. So, in my experience, the vast majority of people, when you start giving what it is you want to receive and you do it on a consistent basis, people mirror you and they start to respond to you. Every now and then they don't, and that is valuable information. I say, I mean, I say 30 days to start off with, because often people are in high stakes, teetering at the edge. They're really tired, stressed, really hurt, really upset. And it's about lowering the temperature of that so that we can get resourceful and we can get creative. But long term, once people start seeing the shifts that this creates, they go for much longer. They go for much longer. So I would just offer to you, I promise to you, it is rare that people don't respond. It is rare that you don't get a shift in the direction that you would hope. So we all make the mistake of trying something for a week, trying something for 2 weeks, and then saying, "Well, it didn't work. It didn't work. I tried, it didn't work." But when you give these little challenges a go, I offer to you, do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. The purpose of this is for you, because being one part of the dance feels awful. And so for you, the benefit of this is to do it for you. So you're asking how long you should give it. And what I would offer to you is let go of that and do this for yourself. You will feel so much better when you stop dancing your steps in the dance. Okay, let's just have a look. Um, I'm not getting, if we ever argue, it's usually because I'm not getting the reaction I want, like joy or happiness. Yeah. So I would talk to you here. So you have a lot of insight here. It's because our parents are the same. Hers don't show praise, joy, or real thanks. Mine are the opposite and would say I'm amazing and thank me for days for doing for something very small. It can be hard when not getting the reaction I want or need. I live off praise and thanks. Okay, so you have great awareness there. Now, I will recommend a book for you, The Five Love Languages. Get it because your love language is words of affirmation, and your partner's love language is going to be something really different. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a little example to help you from my own experience. And my own experience is that I'm a very tactile person. I like lots of hugs and kisses. And my partner is not a tactile person. And so I would constantly tell my partner, I need more hugs and kisses. But it's not his love language. He wasn't raised with hugs and kisses. So I would never get any. And I would get really upset and I would get really angry and I would constantly ask for this and nothing ever worked. I would go and ask for a hug. Um, but then when I got it, it felt fake. And I would say, oh, this is fake, this is forced. And so you can imagine the kind of interactions that were going on between us. He would give me a hug, I would still be angry. And, what I was doing is I was training him never to hug me. Now, emotional rules. We have lots of rules around our emotions that determine how easily and how frequently we experience an emotion. Now, for me, clearly, how I experience the emotion of love, there's lots of hugs and kisses, but there was a rule in there that I didn't realize I had, and that was the hugs and kisses have to be spontaneous. They have to be unasked for. And that's why when I went and got my own hug, it felt fake. I didn't feel loved because I had this rule. Now, once I discovered this rule, I decided, oh, I can just change it. An asked for hug is just as important as an unasked for hug. So I would go and get my hug and I would deliberately, intentionally feel the love from that hug because I'd decided this role is a barrier here. I'm chucking this role. And so the result of that was I would go and get a hug and then I would be happy. And finally, my communication landed. When I went and got this hug, I was all happy. And my partner, it clicked for my partner. Oh, hugs make her happy. And now I get hugs all the time. So I want you to consider that for your own situation. And I also want you to consider love languages. And I want you to consider how does your partner show love? Because there is probably love all around you, but because it's not being given to you in this very specific way, you're missing it. And do you want to flex? Do you want to widen your definition of joy and happiness? Because because it's going to be much easier for you to feel it. So book a call with me. I'm happy to go through it with you. You've got so much awareness here. All you need to do now is shift into a bit of creativity, a bit of inventiveness, a bit of resourcefulness, and I'm sure you can bridge the gap here. Okay, let's have another look. I feel so yes, what I would ask you to do is if you want to share the recording, send the person send me their email address and I will register them for the replay. Okay, so if you want to share this replay, um, uh, send these people over to me and I'll register them and I'll get them on the list. Okay, so what about setting boundaries when the other person continues their toxic behavior even when you stop yours? Yeah, set a boundary. If you're not happy with someone's behavior, you can put in a boundary. You can explain, you can describe yourself, you can describe what you need and why the situation isn't okay for you. You don't need to say you're doing this to me, you're doing that to me. And you can say, this is what I am prepared to do, and this is what I'm not prepared to do. And that, yeah, you can put in a boundary if you feel behavior is harmful to you. So boundaries, strong boundaries are easy. So when a boundary is strong, it's easy. When a boundary is very tough to put in and it's very rigid and I'm never going to speak to you again, that's a weak boundary. So if you want to get on a call with me, if you want to take me up on that free offer of that call, get on the phone with me and I'll talk to you a bit more about that. Okay, so I'm so resentful. I feel so resentful all the time. I can't seem to move on from it. Okay. I ask you to go deeper. underneath resentment, there is always something else. Resentment, frustration, there's always something deeper underneath. Anger is a protective emotion. Anger, all the different shades of anger, impatience, frustration, resentment, bitterness. It's protecting you from something, because it's much easier to feel resentful than to feel angry, than to feel sad, or to be scared. Okay, so what is underneath that anger? I talked to a client last week. They were feeling frustrated, and they kept saying, I'm frustrated about this, I'm frustrated about that. And I asked them to consider, are you really feeling hurt? Are you really feeling hurt here? Instead, it's a much it being describing your deeper emotion. I am so hurt, I am so sad, and describing the situation will be one way of processing this emotion. The other thing that you have to think about, if it's a repeated recurring experience for you to feel resentful, is, where did you learn this? Did you bring this into the relationship? And looking backwards, what did you grow up with? What were relationships like around you? What emotions were demonstrated around you? Because often when we're recurring experiencing a particular emotional pattern, it's often something we've learned and brought into the relationship. And the intimate relationship is the one that most closely mirrors the parent-child relationship. So this is where all this stuff comes up. So again, book a call with me. Happy to go through that with you. Okay, my dad had constant affairs when I was a kid. Um, and I've tried to come to terms with it, but I want him to acknowledge this and say sorry. Okay. It is incredibly painful when someone you love lets you down, especially a parent. And wanting an apology is completely valid. Wanting someone to acknowledge their hurt is completely valid. But I'm going to offer this to you. Waiting, hoping, expecting someone to do something is keeping you stuck. We cannot control other people. And what needing that in order to move on it only hurts you, and it's keeping you stuck. Okay. So sometimes people are not capable of doing these things. And needing it is only harming you. Doing the work of coming to resolution in yourself, processing this for yourself, is key. And again, we get stuck in these dynamics, and this becomes a gridlock where you want this and he doesn't give it to you. Okay. And this is all this work that I've offered to you is about breaking these dynamics, okay? And the benefit to you of breaking these dynamics, because staying stuck here feels awful. And even when, maybe cutting someone out of your life is the right thing to do. Sometimes it is the right thing to do. But what I'll offer to you, my experience of that, is that when we cut someone out of our lives, it does not resolve the feelings. If that person, being around that person is so difficult, it will resolve that. But the feelings we have, all those feelings we have about it, they're not resolved by cutting that person out of your life. And I'll give you a challenge. I'll give you a suggestion, a way that you can break this dynamic, and that is to ask you this: what did your dad get right? What did he do well? And could you acknowledge him for that? It might completely disarm him. It would be really interesting. It would be a massive break in the dynamic. Thinking about, how was he parented that he's ended up behaving like this? How was he parented? That might lessen some of the hurt that you feel. It's not about excusing, but it is about understanding and looking at the bigger picture. And so, acknowledging him for what he did get right might create space. It might create a shift in this because right now staying stuck in this feels awful. So again, book a call with me. Okay. So what do you do if your partner simply doesn't like talking, withdraws, or gets angry when you try? So what is happening there is you are trying to communicate your way. And so for whatever reason, this person cannot handle the way you are communicating. And this is very common, this is very normal. For one person, this was my experience too. We've got to sit down, we've got to talk for at least an hour in detail about this. I had a partner who could not do that. There was just no way that was going to happen. So I would force him to sit down and talk to me, and he would become a mute. Or he would refuse to talk to me, and it would be one word answers or just giving me whatever answer I wanted to hear so he could get out of the situation. So I learned to flex my communication style. And what I learned to do is have conversations over WhatsApp. Okay. For me, that was like, how dare we have an important conversation over WhatsApp? That's disrespectful. We've got to be able to talk about this in person. But I just went on a journey to open up the lines of communication by whatever means necessary. And so if that meant I had to have an important conversation over WhatsApp, I did it. Now, I don't have to do that now. I just went first and started speaking his way, and I paid attention to the way he does communicate, and I started speaking his way. And so I didn't have to do it forever. I don't have to do it anymore. But that was when we were in a really bad place, the way I got the lines of communication open. So it's about paying attention. How does he communicate? How does he communicate? What's his best form of communication? Is it the phone? Is it text? Is there a particular time and day? If you just let go of who's right and who's wrong and just commit to, I'm going to get communication open and flowing by whatever means necessary, you can get inventive and you can get resourceful and curious here. Okay, I'm just aware that we're going over. So again, around boundaries, I would need a bit more information on this. So I recommend that you book a call with me and that we talk about this. So what I will offer to you is this: if no matter how many times you say it, your communication is not landing, get curious about the way you're communicating. Yeah. So whatever way you're communicating is not landing with this person. So do you want to switch it up? Do you want to try some different forms of communication and then see if that shifts it? Okay. I'm going to leave it there. I hope that was helpful for you. As I said, please take me up on that offer of a free consultation call, whether you're here with me live or whether you're watching this on the replay. You have an email from me in your inbox. Hit reply to that email to get yourself booked in. If what I have talked about resonated for you, the next step is to get on the phone with me. Thank you.